Hello and welcome to this short video on business strategy tips and lessons learned. In this video, I'll be showing you how to avoid making some of the big mistakes that we've made while playing in this strategy competition. In our competition, we made 9 rounds of decisions and ended the game in year 19. We were Team C and we decided to name our company Capitan Kushik. Capitan is obviously Spanish, and for those of you who do not speak Armenian, Kushik means shoe in Armenian, so we were basically Captain Shoe. Oh, and by the way, we had an Armenian player on our team, and he was a really cool guy. We became really close friends throughout this competition, and it was his idea to use Kushik instead of just Captain Shoe. So it was really nice to be able to add an international flavor to our name. The last thing I want to say before I start with the tips is I won't be talking about the actual strategy that our team used for this game. I find that it's a lot more helpful for you to understand the game by yourself, and there are a lot of websites out there too that show you, some of them are free, some of them you have to pay for, that show you different strategies that you could potentially use. But we find that basically it pays a lot to study the game, take the time to understand how it works, take the time to do your research, and really don't pay for those websites that ask for your money to give you their secret numbers so you can put in the decision screens. We didn't have to pay for any of those websites and we still won. So okay, let's get on with the tips. The first one is pretty self-explanatory. You want to plan ahead, especially in this strategy competition. One example is to have your target SQ rating planned out well ahead of time, so that you know how much you want to spend on TQM and Six Sigma. Because in our example, we were maxing out our total quality management and Six Sigma investments to the maximum that we can spend on. But we had less than 5 SQs most of the time. So we weren't actually saving that much money compared to the money that we were spending on those TQM and Six Sigma investments. We ended up saving only half as much as we invested in. So it really helps to know what your goal is. And if your goal is less than 5 SQ rating, you definitely may not want to invest that much in TQM and Six Sigma. The second tip is to remember to adjust your branded materials production price forecasts. That's under the branded production tab, and there is this little green triangle that's pretty hard to spot and really easy to miss. And we actually missed it for the first 2, 3, I want to say 4 rounds, and that really hurt us. We were looking at our screens in awe after the first 2 or 3 rounds because we kept having negative ending cash and having to take out short-term emergency loans at higher interest rates, which also tanked our credit rating. So we couldn't figure out why that happened for God knows 4 or 5 rounds until we actually noticed that we forgot to change the forecasts for material prices. And it took us almost till the end of the game to actually recover from that mistake to where our credit rating was where we wanted it to be, which was around an A- or B+. The third tip I want to share with you is about capacity. It's important to know that you can't actually buy and sell capacity in the same region at the same round. So if you bought capacity in a region, whether new or used, you won't be able to sell it in the same round. You had to wait another round to sell it. For example, after the first round, another team sold some of their North American capacity, and we decided that we wanted to buy it because if we bought it, we could decide to maybe sell it in the same round, or we could keep it and use it to produce more shoes. We thought that that would give us more flexibility. Little did we know that it actually hindered us, because after we bought it and once we decided we wanted to sell it in the same round, we couldn't actually sell it. And it forced us to wait another round to sell our North America plant, just because we bought that little bit when we became greedy at the start of round 2. And that actually leads to another lesson, which is never be greedy and make last minute decisions. We rushed a decision to buy capacity in North America, even though that was not part of our strategy. We decided to buy it because we saw another team sell it, and we can buy it cheap at 25% discount. So that was basically a rush decision, and we ended up selling our North American capacity anyway. The fourth tip is to not ever make a decision that will severely restrict your ability to react and be nimble, because you always want to be able to react to what your competitors do. And that is true especially at the beginning of the game, because it's generally pretty crazy at the beginning and everybody is trying to figure out what they are doing. So it's really hard to guess what your competitors' long-term strategies are, which is why you want to be nimble and not be locked into a strategy at the beginning of the game. For example, in our case, we bought back the large majority of the outstanding shares that you are allowed to buy back. But that actually cost us because we spent the majority of our cash, and we were also borrowing a lot of long-term loans. So we didn't have enough cash to be able to react to different opportunities, like the time when celebrities were very cheap because nobody had enough money to bid on them. If we had money at that time, we would have been able to grab most of the celebrities at very cheap prices. But because we bought so many shares back at high prices at the beginning of the game, we weren't able to borrow more money in order to bid on those celebrities. And another team grabbed most of the celebrities at very low prices. And to make matters worse, because we bought so many shares at the beginning, we ended up having to sell a lot of those shares at half as much as we bought them, because we needed the cash to stay alive. The fifth tip is to always have at least $8 million in ending cash or projected ending cash on the left lower side of your screen. This is again especially true at the beginning of the game, where you're not sure how much ending cash you actually need depending on how big your company is. Obviously, as your company gets larger, you will need more ending cash to make sure that a small difference in your forecasts doesn't make a big difference in your bottom line, and that doesn't end up making you have to take emergency loans. Tip number 6, celebrities. A lot of people are not sure about how much money to actually bid for those. From our experience, we started out with around $6 to $8 million bids per celebrity, and as the game progressed, we ended up with around $8 to $11 million per celebrity. And obviously every industry would be different, and as you grow bigger, you are also able to afford to bid higher prices, since celebrities, like many other aspects in this game, are often fixed costs. So that's just another thing to keep in mind. And your industry could be a lot different. It could be a lot more competitive, where the bids are a lot higher, or it could be less competitive, where if you bid lower prices, you'll be able to win most of the celebrities that you want to win. And also remember to spend more on advertising when you have more celebrities. The last tip, tip number 7, is pretty important. Make sure you build very strong relationships with your teammates, and make sure you talk through every decision, because you do not want infighting in your team. Being able to work together with your teammates can mean the difference between success and bankruptcy. So thanks for watching, and remember to rate and comment.